team old Carlton goes. With all the champions they like to send up, we'll keep our end up, and they will know that they've been playing against the famous old dark blues.
Well, hello everybody and welcome to Blue Sunday, even though it is Monday. I'm your host all the way here from Bangkok Joe, and joining me in Melbourne is a former Carltonian president, life member of the Carlton Football Club, Big Vincenzo Lochisano. How are you, Vince?
G'day, Joe. Good to see you. Yes, it is a Monday night. Maybe we should play the theme song to New Order's big hit there from the 80s, Blue Monday.
Blue Monday? Maybe we could.
Maybe we can't because of copyright issues, but anyway.
Yeah, probably. Anyway.
But anyway.
How was your weekend, Vince?
What's that, mate?
How was your weekend?
Weekend was pretty good. It took a hell of a long time for Sunday night at 4:40 to come around to watch Carlton, but I can't exactly say it was a game that was worth waiting for either because,
no.
To be honest with you, even though we won, I was none too impressed with what I saw. No, not at all. Not at all. But
got some good young players, North, but we'll wait to discuss the game.
Yep.
Let us get on with the show. Excuse me. Sorry, I got a bit of a frog in my throat. Let's do some admin, Vince. As you all know.
Before you get on with this, can I just say a big shout
Oh,
out?
don't tell me. Hang on, you got a Cheerio.
Yes, I have. 3 guys who happen to be sitting sort of, well, behind me, one row behind me, but just a bit to the side, who immediately recognised me and said hello because they watched the show. Damien, Nev, and Oz. Big shout out to them. G'day, guys. Hope you're watching. And they're very passionate Carlton supporters and like to vent their spleen when they're not too happy with what we're doing out there. But that's fine. I used to be like that all the time at the football. I'm a bit more reserved these days, but good to see passionate Carlton supporters going to the footy. So big shout out to them.
I thought you were going to say that. I thought you were going to say Rocco, Mars, and Paolo, but
yeah, well, actually, funnily enough, I happened to bump into Rocco.
Yes.
On the concourse, not on the concourse, so just up the top of the, when you're making your way back up towards where the food outlets and toilets and all that are. I happened to run into him there, so we had a quick chat, and he wasn't too happy with how we were playing at that stage. It was only quarter time, and he was already not too happy. But and I also want to give a big, you talk about the shout out. I want to give a big shout out to the absolute moron that was sitting behind me who just screamed out obscenities at everyone on the ground for the entire match. I went home with a splitting headache. He was that loud. Seriously, I reckon it would have been 20,000 million decibels coming out of his throat every time he spoke. But I don't know, there should be something done about people that just shout out way too much at the football because it was just screeching to have to listen to. I actually ended up putting my fingers in my ears to try and give him a message.
He's probably henpecked at home, Vince.
He didn't tone down his voice, I can tell you. But
that's
anyway,
what
happened at the
Carlton
footy
supporter?
yesterday. Yeah, he's a Carlton supporter, but one of the knobs that support our club.
Anyway. All right, let's get on to some admin. As everyone knows, we are a social media beast. So you will find us at Facebook at Blue Sunday, and you'll also see us at The Jumper Punch. And we are coming to you on the YouTube channel at The Jumper Punch. Please like, share, and subscribe. The more likes and shares we get, the better our show becomes, the bigger it comes, and we go to a bigger audience. Vince, if you don't know, we have viewers all over the world, Kenya, Japan, London. I'll share that information with you one day.
And they're all ex-girlfriends of yours, Joe.
Boyfriends. They're all boys. I got a boy in every port. Also, don't forget, Blue Sunday is proudly brought to you by my company, Retired Working For You Tours. We do everything over here in Thailand, soon to move to some neighbouring countries. You'll see some pictures there. You'll see the tuk-tuks in Thailand. You'll see Doi Suthep, which is the church on top of the mountain down here in Chiang Mai, and the beautiful beaches at Phuket.
Geez,
So
that sounds exciting, Joe. You're going to other countries around Thailand. So which other ones can you announce
we'll be going
here to all of our viewers?
Watch this space. It's coming. Watch this space. We're just in negotiations. Anyway.
All right.
Vince, we've got some happy photos of you and some sad photos of you. So here's Vince and the lovely Tanya at Essendon, Adelaide. Vince is smiling because Adelaide won. Tanya's smiling because she knows she's going to kill Vince when she gets home. And Vince, gold star, no Essendon paraphernalia.
Yes, nothing Essendon on me at all. Not even covered up.
Unlike Sunday, we have. Is this a conversion?
Tanya's telling everyone, "Oh well, it looks like Essendon's not going to make finals, so I might as well start barracking for my other team." She said.
Is this the conversion?
Yes, I think I've converted her to being a Carlton supporter for September only.
That's okay. Hey, also, just a quick shout out.
Essendon don't tend to do too well in September.
No, they're not.
They're either not there, or if they are there, they lose.
Good. You give shout outs. I'm going to give shout outs to our regular viewers: DC, Rocco, Wayne, Paul, yes. Enzo, Jared, Frank. Good to have you all on board. Vince, we have someone special waiting for us in the wings.
We do.
Our regular panellist, Mr. David Rees-Jones. Good evening, David. How are you tonight?
Yeah, good. Mondays used to be busy for me, and
for a different reason.
Yeah, exactly. But
good to see you, Reese.
Not my favourite day of the week, as has been over the years. But great to be here, and the Blues had a win, so that's the most important thing.
We'll get on to that.
The 4 points.
Vince, let's go through the scores, and then we'll get David to give his comments.
No problems. Well, there you can see the final scores: a Carlton home match against North Melbourne. Carlton final score 16-11-107 to North Melbourne 14-4-88, a 19-point victory. You can see there from the quarter-by-quarter scores that the game was never really out of either side's reach for the majority of the game. Carlton kicking 4 goals to 3 in the first quarter, despite, I think, North Melbourne having definitely a fair share of the ball. In the second quarter, they really did put the foot down and took it up to us and kicked 6 goals straight to our 3 goals won, and took an 11-point lead into half time. And it was looking a bit like, this could be a bit of a contest here. I mean, most of us that discussed it at half time thought, we'll just power away from them in the second half, and they haven't got much left in the tank normally. But to their credit, they stuck with us. I mean, we had certainly a very good third quarter, 7 goals, 5 to North Melbourne's 3 goals, 1. And that's where really we took the ascendancy away from them in that third quarter. I think at one stage scoring 5 consecutive goals before they finally got one back. And then in the last quarter, both sides scoring 2 goals. I think Carlton outscoring them by 2 points. So 2 goals 4 to 2 goals 2. And didn't ever really look like losing in the end, but far from a convincing performance from my point of view. A 19-point win. I selected Carlton by 12 goals last week, but they certainly didn't perform like a team who wanted to show everyone, just how fantastic a team they could be. They were certainly shown up a bit by the young, enthusiastic North Melbourne team, who really did take it up to us and brought a lot of heat to the game. So that's how I saw it anyway. But just quickly, we'll go through the goal kickers for Carlton. Charlie Curnow kicked 4 goals, 2. Matt Owies kicked 3 goals. Jesse Motlop, in his first game back for the year, kicked 3 goals. And then Lockie Fogarty kicked 2. Harry Mackay kicked 2. And then singles to Ollie Hollins and Adam Sard. Good to see him hitting the scoreboard first time in a long time. For North Melbourne, their goal scorers were Curtis with 3, Comben with 3, Sheasel with 2, Larkey with 2, and singles to Shields, Scott, Teakle, and Hanson Jr. You can see here the statistics that were most, that differentiated the sides most. You'll see the disposals there. Well, actually, North Melbourne had more kicks and less hand passes, actually, but certainly more disposals overall, 348 to 335. More kicking than hand passing from them. Free kicks were in Carlton's favour, 27 to 22. Marks, well, this is one of the really big ones. Marks 102 to 69. Including 16 contested marks by North Melbourne to only 6 from Carlton. And also, of course, 86 uncontested marks by North Melbourne to our 63. Hit-outs, again, was an area that they dominated in, with Sherry really taking it up to De Conning, 47 hit-outs to 21. I think Sherry got 43 of those 47, and De Conning got 19 of Carlton's 21. Bounces, 10 to Carlton, 5 to North Melbourne. I think Adam Sard might have been the one player on the ground that had about 4 or 5 in the one burst. 1 percenters, 31 to Carlton, 37 to North Melbourne. So they certainly brought that sort of attention to detail to the table yesterday. Tackles, they had 56 overall. We had 64. So we had slightly more tackles, although they had more tackles inside 50. They had 13 to our 9. Inside 50 efficiency, you can see there that we were much more efficient, getting 27 scoring shots from our 53 entries. So that's a percentage of 51%. Whereas North Melbourne let themselves down a bit here. Despite having 56 inside 50 entries, they only scored 18 times. So that's only 32% of the time that they scored from one of their entries. Shooting accuracy was where they made up for that, scoring at 78%. That's huge, isn't it? 14 goals from 18 scoring shots, whereas we had 59%, 16 goals from 27 scoring shots, kicking 16 goals, 11. And the biggest lead of the game, 20 points was Carlton's biggest lead at the 21-minute mark of the last quarter. North Melbourne's, that you got that wrong, Joe. You always make one mistake per show. So there it is. Should be 18 points. 18 points was North Melbourne's largest lead, and that was at the 18-minute mark of the second quarter. You didn't get it wrong by much, mate, but never mind. I just happened to remember that it was 18 points at the 18-minute mark of the second quarter. So both sides never really got a lead that was insurmountable over the other. But they're the stats that differentiated the sides most. What did you think, Reece? What did you make of the game, mate?
Yeah, look, going into the game, obviously, last week we spoke about it, and second playing 16th or whatever, you're high on confidence and everything, and it wasn't really till we, had a fair amount of changes at the selection table. So that was a little bit of a worry, and then we had another one, a late change with Marchbank going out and Durden coming in. I think the benefit for them was having Logue into their team. That really helped them set up and become a lot more dangerous team. They were able to move Comden down to the forward line. They had 3 tools down there, 3 tall targets, and that's stretched us in the past. Wiedering had a fantastic game on Larkey. I thought he was terrific again, Wieders, but Durden probably, a little bit shaky. He looked at times. So, the tall defender spot is a real problem for us. And to be perfectly honest, I was a little bit worried going into the match, just with the way they were going to line up and just the way we were going to line up, and our back line worried me. So we got away with the win. Look, they got some quality young blokes. I mean, that Sheasel he's going to be a superstar if he's not already, sort of thing. He's
absolutely.
He's just a gun player, and how he runs
Wardlaw.
around. Wardlaw's going to be good. And obviously their skipper and a few others.
LDU's a good player.
Davies Uniac and they got quality players, and they've got a lot of kids in there as well, and that helps. The one thing I did look at, and I thought, if Zach Fisher's getting a game, they're not travelling that far.
I think he went off injured. He went off injured, Zach Fisher.
I didn't see much of him out there. Yeah, but,
no.
Never saw much of him when he was playing for Carlton either. So, they can have that problem. But, look, it was it was a good win in the end, I thought. I was happy to walk away with the 4 points. I just, where some players go down, I mean, DeConning, when he got hurt, and that, was reasonably early in the game, and it had to go off and down to the rooms. Walsh got a knee or whatever in the back, and he wasn't moving too well. Akers looked very sore. Doesn't really bode well for this week with a 5-day turnaround. But we had quite a few boys who were pretty sore. So to come out of that with the win, the third quarter, I think we just put the pedal down, and that's going to happen to North Melbourne at the moment. I mean, they're just they're not ready to play 4 solid quarters yet. They're just a bit, a year or two away from that sort of thing. But once they do start, bolstering, they're gonna worry a few teams. They're gonna worry some teams at the end of this year, and next year they're going to improve a bit too. I mean, we've seen what Hawthorn's been able to do this year, and the improvement can come pretty quick. And if they can have their best team out there, which they had on the weekend, they're going to challenge, a lot of good teams. And eventually they will be able to put 4 quarters together and be able to sustain that pressure that they applied to us over the first half over a full game. And that's when they're going to be pretty dangerous to everyone. So, overall, happy to escape with a win at the end. And 19-point win was, we could have tumbled to 5th on the ladder. Had they, so they didn't have to beat us by much for that to happen. So, good to be in second spot.
So, David, obviously your man Pito will be back this week.
Yeah, and look, he'll do the job. We know what Pito's capable of, and obviously very handy having him now. And he can press some real claims himself for staying in the team too. I mean, it's a great opportunity for him over the last 4 or 5 weeks to establish himself and be that number 1 ruckman and show he can do it. So, TDK, it was shattering to hear the news. I actually went to the gym this afternoon, and I went for a swim afterwards, and one of the guys in the pool was telling me that he went down badly. So and the foot injury and a
fractured his foot.
Yeah, punctured lung and a fracture in his foot. So that'll be operated on later in the year and later in the week, and he'll miss the rest of the home and away season. So good news is he's back for finals, and he a small break like that's not going to worry him too much.
Vince?
Not an ideal preparation, I would have thought, heading into the finals to come off, not playing for 6 weeks. You can certainly lose a lot of momentum.
Big blokes are a bit
yourself. Sorry?
Big blokes are a bit different, and ruckman like him, he'll bounce back. He's just.
You'd hope so. You'd hope so. I just don't think it's the ideal preparation, is what I'm trying to say. I think most players, whether they're ruckman or small players or tall players, would like to have some sort of regular form going into the finals, at least building momentum as you approach September. But in fact, funnily enough, Reece, I think the first 4 clubs on the ladder have all had some serious injuries to key players this weekend that will see a lot of them not play at all leading into the finals. I think Alex Pearce, the captain of Fremantle's broken his arm again, so he'll be probably missing until the finals. Tom Papley's gone down with some sort of leg or foot injury that's going to keep him out till the finals. And in Brisbane, I think who was it there? I know that Harris Andrews certainly got concussed. And I think he might be out with concussion protocols now for the next couple of weeks. But they've also got a couple of players that are going to be missing as they head into the finals as well. So, it's a really delicate time of the year, isn't it? You don't want to have injuries to key players, but at the same time, you want them playing and in good form as you approach September, don't you?
Well, you do, but injuries are part and parcel of the the game we play, so it's going to be. You look at the injuries that Collingwood have got at the moment, and that's really going to probably make them miss finals. So they're going to struggle to make it now, but. It's part and parcel of our game, and you just got to have blokes who keep on stepping up, and we might miss Walsh and probably TDK this week, and you got players who are going to
and maybe Akers. I think Akers is not too good either, is he?
He looked pretty sore too, so he wasn't moving too well towards the end. So there's players. Look, our reserves team depleted at Collingwood side by 83 points on the weekend, and I think Jackson Binns had 47 possessions, 36 and 11 or something,
and kicked 3 goals. What more does a young kid have to do to get a full game in the seniors?
And I'll nearly guarantee he won't be playing this week. But you never know. But
unbelievable.
I doubt whether it'll be in the mix. But Jack Martin, was out there playing, so that was good to see. And whether they bring him straight in after that.
Brody Kemp went back to the VFL and played a reasonable game in the reserves as well.
Obviously, Marchbank will be back, so that'll help with the back line. But
McGovern's another one we missed, don't we?
We had to flick players around on the weekend and play them out of position. I mean, Chera playing on a half-back flank, I didn't like that too much.
Kennedy as well. Lost. He looked lost.
He did look lost. And
Kennedy had to go to the back line as well, didn't he?
Well, he went in the end, yeah. So, and we look shaky down there at times. I think besides Sard and Wieders back there,
and Newman.
And Newman, yeah. Those 3 nice and tight, but the other guys looked a bit shaky at times and made some errors. So,
we missed Boyd. We missed Boydie as well. Yeah.
Boyd's run, we missed a bit of that as well. So the small defender type, but they were able to get some easy goals on us as well, and that's that's a worrying sign. And we sort of need McGovern back this week too, probably. So that's another bonus. So you get injuries at this time of year, you just got to cover for them, and we're lucky enough. We're going to play.
I guess that's where depth is important, isn't it, David? The depth of the club.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And that's and we're starting to get that back. I mean, with in our VFL team, Martin and blokes like that, getting back in and getting some footy at the moment. Kemp going back and so forth. So, there's a lot of options there. So it's.
Cunningham was the sub on the weekend, but he only got on
dropped
sort of a bit late in the last quarter and only got the one hand pass. So he's either going to get dropped back to the VFL again, or surely they've got to play him a full game if they're going to keep him in the side.
Well, look, if Walsh doesn't play, I think he's just about to go in through there. So 5-day turnaround too. So I don't think they'll take any risks this week. So. It'd be interesting, and that gives Cunners a chance. I mean, he's one of those players who is yet to establish himself in the team coming into September. So, and
it could be one of his last opportunities in his entire AFL career, really. Yep. I mean, he's almost got career on the line now. The next 5 weeks will determine whether David Cunningham cements his position in the team or whether he's just going to be a yesterday's player.
Well, I think there's a few players. Jack Martin's another one who, he's got to shape up, but he can be a match winner. He is a serious footballer. Whether the game's past him, whether he's, up to that standard, and whether his body can hold together over this last 9 or 10 weeks, that's going to be an important thing for him. So let's hope it does, because I like the guy and I like the way he plays. He's hard at it. He's a very, very skillful footballer, and he can be an X factor come finals time. So let's hope that he can come through and play some good footy over this last little bit. But if he doesn't, then
what are you doing, Reece?
Line myself up again. But so it's going to be an interesting, 5 or 6 weeks to see who stands up, who wants to be part of it, and players are going to get opportunities. They are going to get opportunities. It happens every year, and you can look at it and say, this bloke, just popped up in the last half of the season, and next minute, he's a premiership player. Who probably wouldn't have been considered early in the season.
David, have a look at the comment up on the screen from DC. Do you think our inconsistency throughout the team will hurt us come finals?
I think we need to. It'd be nice to get our team together. It's not going to happen because TDK won't be there, but it'd be nice to get some consistency in and not have so many changes. What was it, 5 or 6 changes last week?
Yeah.
It's a fair chunky a team going in and out. So you'd prefer that not to happen, but you look for the players who are coming in and you want to see them. Jack Carroll, first half. I thought
very well.
Yeah, I thought he was terrific in the first half. Went missing a bit after half time, but he's got an opportunity. He's got an opportunity. So if he wants to grab it, and if Walsh doesn't play this week, it probably gives more responsibility for more people in through that midfield, because Cripper can't do it all on his own.
I thought Hewitt is an important part in that team. He helps that midfield.
Yeah, he plays that defensive role and plays it very well. And I for the life of me can't understand why he missed the last couple of weeks. I don't know what went wrong there and what they were thinking in the selection committee, but we're a better team when George Hewitt's in that side. And I think he probably had a better than serviceable game, but I might even talk about that a little bit later in the show because I've thrown him. But he's an important cog, and I thought he made a huge difference being in the centre bounces and in that midfield combination, and just his work around clearances and that type of thing is important.
What do you think about the two big forwards, Vince? Harry and Charlie.
Look, I thought Harry took a hell of a long time to get involved in any meaningful way in the game. I know he was backing up the Conning in the ruck at times, but I don't even think he got one hit out. So I don't think he wanted to be there, to be frank, in the ruck. But he finally got involved when he got concussed, in fact, and got up and then eventually kicked the goal around his body. It was a fantastic snapshot, for goal, and that sort of got the crowd up and about. But I thought he played a reasonable game without ever really sort of imposing himself in any major way. I thought Curnow was a lot better this week. He still annoys me at times with some of his petulance, but and there was one bit of play where he doesn't seem to want to slow down and just take his time in having a set shot or anything like that. He's always looking to move on quickly or to swing around on his right foot. He went to swing around on his right at one stage and got the belly of the football and it went nowhere.
I went up straight up in the air, didn't it?
And then North Melbourne got the ball back and ended up kicking a goal out of it. And you just think, oh, geez, that's frustrating. But But look, overall, I thought he was the most dangerous looking forward on the ground and imposed himself when he needed to. And I thought it was one of his better games for the year. Although I still think that there's lots there to work on. I think we probably set the bar pretty high with Charlie, all of us, because we just know what he's capable of. And we can even imagine him taking a game by storm one day, maybe, even kicking 8 to 10 goals one day would be nice to see. But he never quite gets there, does he? He's always teasing us a little bit with little bits and pieces of what he can do without really stringing 4 quarters together. But
he gets dragged
I thought he was one of our better players on the ground and probably one of the most imposing forwards. What's that? Sorry, Joe?
He gets scragged a lot. If you have a look, those umpires are in perfect position, and it's even on the TV, and you see them pulling jumpers, and they play on and dropping the ball. Still inconsistent.
Yeah, maybe, but look, I still think he doesn't lead out enough and take the ball out in front of him enough. I just wish he'd do that more. I think Harry's doing that a lot better and a lot more than what Charlie does week in, week out. But I think he improved a lot on what he did in the last couple of weeks when I had a bit of a shot at him, and I'm certainly not alone in the Carlton community at having a bit of a poke at Charlie and asking him to improve his act. But I thought he was a lot better yesterday. What did you reckon, Reece? Did you think that the two tall forwards did well?
Logue's a quality defender. I mean, they got him across from Freo, and he's a quality player. They'll be paying him a lot of money, and it's disappointing. He missed 12 months with ACL, and he had a couple of games back in the VFL, and but he's a very good defender, and Charlie was able to get off the leash a bit in the third quarter. I just think our ball movement to players such as Charlie's not great. I think put the ball, make him run onto it. Kick the ball out into some space, and that's when he's at his best. I know at times he likes to wrestle and show his strength and gets it up and he can pluck a one-hander every now and then, but that's not it's not viable. But look, he dropped a chest mark at one stage, which fell and fumbled that up a few times. So I see him getting his hands, and I saw a comment a minute ago, saying that he's not holding his marks, and I think overhead he's they're just not sticking, and I think a lot of times you got Harry and Charlie, and they're getting their hands to the ball, but they're just not clunking, and so hopefully we get better at that, because if they get their hands to the ball enough and just don't mark them. So hopefully they can work on that over the next few weeks and come into finals full of confidence. But I thought it was a pretty good effort by our forward line, to be honest. Our smalls, we got Owies and Motlop kicking 3 each, and Fogarty 2. So I think out of 16 goals, our forwards kicked 14 of them. So that's a pretty good. That means we're not relying on our mids and other players to come down and kick goals, and so a reasonable sign there. But hopefully they can get a bit more coordinated down there, and we can just use the ball a bit better coming into our big fellas. We're too predictable at the moment. We're one of those clubs who we know we've got 2 of the best forwards in the competition down there, so we think we'll just bomb it up and they're going to do the rest. It just doesn't work like that. You got to put it into space, let them run onto it. Charlie can use his athleticism. He's going to, you see him when he does come out on the ball is kicked out in front of him, and he can use his pace and his leg speed and so forth. He's very hard to stop. So we need to be better bringing the ball into our forward line.
Reece, can I just ask you to give us your thoughts on the 2 quarters where there was such a difference between the 2 clubs? Because when you look at it, as I mentioned earlier, the first quarter was pretty even. We kicked 4 goals to 3. In the last quarter, both clubs only kicked 2 goals each. So North Melbourne really stole the ascendancy from us at that stage. They kicked 6 goals to 3 in that second quarter. What did you notice in that quarter that we weren't doing, or that they were doing to go into half time with an 11-point lead? They certainly played some very impressive footy.
Yeah, they did, and they used the ball very well too. And their tools really did worry us, down forward. They were clunking some marks down there. So, it was we didn't look good. We couldn't get our hands on the footy, and when we don't get our hands on the footy much, we look slow, and other teams look fast. I mean, they were able to chip the ball around a fair bit. Cheezel, he had a.
He was magnificent.
He's a good player.
Put it this way, if I'm hoping because we won the game that the umpires will give Cripper the 3 votes, but I wouldn't. I think Cheezel was by far the best player on the ground, and
me too. I thought that too.
He's the most consistent.
Get the 2, but umpires sometimes, because the team that wins the best player gets the 3 votes. So hopefully he does, and he'll be on his way to winning his second Brownlow, because he's been absolutely fantastic over the last few weeks. But getting back to your point, they had the ball, and any team in this competition, I mean, you've got to be good players to get this, to get to that level. And obviously they've had a lot of high draft picks and skillful young players. And as I said, they're going to take it up to the good teams, and they're going to show that they're going to be very hard to beat from time to time. I just another comment there. I thought Cherry was bloody terrific in the ruck. He's a goer. Brilliant. He's a real goer. Wins the tap outs, give them first use a lot of the time. So that helped. TDK, I thought when he come back on was he was obviously hurt. And I thought he was fantastic the way he come back on and just competed, and his second, third efforts after going for the ruck really got us going a bit too in that third quarter. So
is that what changed? Because that was my next question. So what changed at half time? Did you see any? I didn't notice any positional moves really that made much of a difference, but all of a sudden the game changed and we got it back on our terms.
Yeah, we were looking sore. I think, there are a few things. I mean, we had Cripper and, doing a heap of ruck work. He was doing too much for my liking, to be honest. And Kennedy doing a bit of ruck work as well for quite a while there. So, we were stretched at that point. So that's, I think TDK coming back on was, hugely beneficial just to get our balance right. And we've got a lot of good experienced players who've played a lot of footy now. So, you put that in comparison to the younger North Melbourne team, they're going to, they're not going to be able to maintain that sort of heat. And we put the heat on. We put the heat on them in that third quarter, and that was...
Yeah, we turned it up.
That was a real turning point. Whether Vossi give them a spray or whatever at half time, I'm sure he would have given them a pretty good talking to, because...
I'm sure he did.
Yeah, that's, we're in line to get beat, at a half time. We were looking sore, we're looking slow, and they're running over the top of us. So it was a matter of... picking up on the little things and putting the heat back on them, and that's what you're going to do. I mean, you just got to take it away from all teams can play footy. They can all play and they can all kick goals and beat you on any given day, sort of thing. And I think that's been shown throughout the course of the season. So and they played well. They besides the game last week against the Swans. They should have beat Collingwood. Collingwood had a good team in that day, and not so many of the injuries they've got now. But there's a few matches that they should have won, and they've taken up to some good opponents. So I'll take those 4 points and be happily taking them and looking forward to next week. And there's going to be a few more players get some opportunity this week. That's going to be another important thing. And tough match it's going to be, because quality midfield again this week against Port Adelaide, and they got some quick players too, which is what's really hurt us.
Mm.
I was going to ask you about the midfield as well, Reece. I'm glad you just mentioned it. That was a game where we don't have too many of them actually, where all 5 of our designated midfielders in Cripps, Walsh, Chera, Hewitt, and Kennedy all played in the game. None of them were a sub or anything like that. So all 5 of them were starting in our 22. I thought that they got beaten badly by the second last team on the ladder. I just think our midfield has got a real problem at the moment. Too much is being left to Cripps. If Cripps doesn't fire, or if he happens to get injured, we are in real trouble because Walsh is out of form. He doesn't like being tagged. Hewitt came back. He certainly played well. He got about 8 clearances. He was probably our second best midfielder. But Chera, I don't know what's wrong with him. To me, he's not playing like the footballer that we thought he was going to be. And I thought, well, he wasn't there for a start. I just think they moved him back there because he was getting so badly beaten in the middle. And some of his ball handling and the turnovers that he was guilty of, it was just terrible to watch. And he probably had a better third quarter, but I reckon Chera's a bit of a problem moving forward. And
he looks slow.
And Kennedy also, while he has had some good games, I didn't think yesterday was one of his better ones. He looked a bit slow at times, and I just think our midfield is suspect, and too much is being left to Cripps.
I think it's
that's
slow.
my view. What do you make of the midfield?
Look, I'd have to agree with that. I think we're tinkering too much with our midfield. I think at the moment, and players, Hewitt missing a few weeks, and players coming in and out.
Yeah.
I'd like to see a bit more stability, but I don't think that's going to happen because I think Walsh will probably miss this week. I think it'd be a smart move for him to miss, regardless of whether he's right or not, because he's too important to us. And I think, you don't know about back injuries, and he was very suspect at the start of the season, and I had one person close to the club saying that there's doubts on him playing at all this year. Before the season started. So you sort of, when you think, when he came back, he was magnificent, but it's a long year, and it's back's a bloody sensitive.
He looks like he could do with the rest. He doesn't look free when he runs at the moment. He looks like he's carrying something.
But that's what I mean. I think regardless of, I'd give him a spell anyway. Just he needs it. It gives someone else an opportunity to get in there, and whether it's a Jack Carroll or Chera goes back in there or whoever, gives them an opportunity to find some form, and it's hard sometimes when you got a bloke like Walsh and a bloke like Cripps who are just ball hungry players, and you sort of, you don't want to get in their way sometimes because they're so good at their craft, but I think I just think there's some opportunities there for other players to shine over the next couple of weeks, and give them an opportunity. So
need to take
we all know that if your midfield's not performing well and they're getting beaten defensively as well, that puts a lot more pressure on your defence. And the defence at times yesterday looked really shaky, didn't it? Looked really suspect. We miss McGovern back there. We miss a couple of others like Boyd, etc. But
but when the pressure, I can tell you from playing in the back line, it can be the greatest position of all time playing in the back line. If your midfield and your players up the field are working hard and putting pressure when the gates release and players are coming in, streaming out of the midfield, which they were, and I remember a game at Princess Park one day. Donald McDonald should have probably kicked 5 or 6 goals in the first quarter on me, and we were left deep in. He was left deep in the forward line, and we're one out down there, and blokes like Larkin and that were calming out her beautiful kicks, and he only had to move in one direction, take one step, and they were putting a lace out in front of him, and you can't stop that. It doesn't matter, who. But when the pressure's being applied through that midfield and they're bombing the ball in, gee, it's a great position to be in the back line. But and they started, getting the ball and moving it quick through the midfield. Most back lines will look pretty
exactly
in that situation. But and that's where I'll give credit to Weeders. I thought he was fantastic again. I thought job on Larky. Larky's a quality player, and Larky will be when in a year or two when North sort of start getting their, getting these guys all playing together, 30, 40 games. He's going to be a damaging forward again. He's going to, and they got some quality down there. Comden, the other bloke.
Teakle.
Teakle. He might be all right too. He sort of showed some signs too. So they got some good tall timber down there, and unfortunately they've had to put Comben back this year because Logue wasn't there and other things. So they were able to tinker around a bit with it, with how they're going to look in the future, and the future's bright for North Melbourne. They've got a good coach there. They've got some real quality midfield, and Logue back there in the back line, it was sort of a bit of the piece that's been missing for him over the course of this year.
Even Aiden Core, which is a player I don't have necessarily a lot of time for, he seemed to do a reasonable job on Harry for the majority of the game. Yeah. But look, to be frank with you, do you remember those couple of occasions where North Melbourne had the ball at full back and they played on and they did a couple of hand passes or short kicks and they got themselves into trouble? I think one player slipped over and then got tackled. And then, if it wasn't for those 2 or 3 incidents that cost them goals, elementary mistakes right in the full back line, literally they would have matched it with us and potentially could have pinched the game. But those mistakes, we weren't guilty of those. We weren't guilty of any mistakes of that nature. They were, and they're the 2 or 3 goals that cost them the game, in my view. Otherwise, they literally kept up with us. And as we saw from the stats, they had just as much of the ball and forward 50 entries, and they were dead-eye dicks in front of goal, 14 goals for. So they matched it with us.
You don't have to have a long memory to think back of when we were making those sort of mistakes.
Exactly.
Just a few years back. Back Fisher probably one of the examples. So we just. I didn't think it was just had a terrible game. A comment come up there. Look, I was happy to get the win. I was happy to get out. You can win ugly sometimes, and just get out and cop the 4 points and be happy with it. And there's plenty to work on. So that's another good side of it. There's plenty to work on. So look at where we're good. And I just want to bring up young Ollie Hollins, who's copped a bit of a crap over the last few weeks, and I thought he was sensational in a few occasions. His desperation was just what was needed, and good to see from a young bloke who hasn't been in great form, but he works bloody hard in the course of getting up and down the ground, and some of his efforts were fantastic on the weekend.
He needed to be too, because with Akers being a bit banged up and a bit sore, he really needed to step up on his wing, and I thought he did that. I thought, to give the kid some credit, he really did work his guts out, especially defensively. Apart from getting his 17 or 18 possessions and going pretty well with those, he worked very hard defensively, as you've just pointed out. And I thought Cottrell, who I thought was a bit of a surprise to see him still retain his spot in the side. Obviously, Michael Voss has got a bit of faith in him. And he played a far better game too. I think one of our viewers was asking us to make comment about Cottrell and what we thought of his game, because he needed to improve.
With Akers, if Akers doesn't come up this week, it gives him a great opportunity to grab that wing too, and that's where he's been able to really shine. Yeah. So.
Okay. All right, gents, I think we've discussed this game enough. Final comments, and then we'll get on to the votes. I'll start with you, David.
Look, I love social media, and I just had to have a look at it after the match, and the hashtag free kick Carlton come up on numerous occasions, and I just thought, at the end of the day, we got the 4 points, and it's all Collingwood, Essendon, Richmond supporters who just want to bag us, but we're sitting second on the ladder, and we're there for a reason, and. I'm happy to get the 4 points and just know that we've got a lot. We can improve a hell of a lot. But I'm really going to be interested to see, if we do. Well, we obviously have to make some changes this week, and who comes in, who goes out, and who wants to be there, because that's really going to be the key to it all. The guys who are going to put their hand up and say, well, I want to be part of September, and I'll follow my captain and the way he's leading us at the moment, and I want to be part of it.
Vince?
Yeah, look, not too much to say really, other than we were very fortunate to get away with it. I thought it's one of those games that, yes, of course, if you're looking at the glass half full, you'd say, well, we've got the 4 points, we move on, we ignore everything that we're not good at, and we just move on to next week. Well, I know that that's the attitude of a lot of Kool-Aid drinking supporters who don't want to take notice of anything negative and think that anyone who speaks against the team is just being too negative about it. I don't see it that way. I think if you're going to make constructive comments that have a basis to them, you're welcome to do it as a supporter. And I really think that there's a lot to be concerned about. I'm not happy with what I'm seeing at the moment. I wasn't happy at any stage during that game. Yes, the 5 goals in a row in the third quarter was an encouraging patch of time, but it was just enough against a side that was probably never going to be equipped to beat us on the day. But, we'd want to improve a heck of a lot in the next 5 weeks if we're going to be playing a big part in September. That's all I can say.
All right. Sorry, Vince. It's woke culture time. Anyway, let's move to the vote.
Let's give the players all a certificate for playing on the weekend, shall we? A certificate of participation.
Get a W next to the
Get a gold star.
Let's just be happy with that. Look, I think Crippo got once again fantastic and just led by example. I threw George Hewitt in for 2 votes just because I couldn't believe they left him out for the last few weeks. And Adam Sard, Sardi, he some of his run and bounce and carry off halfback is, but also his closing speed. I think when he's defending, he just does it so well, and he's a class act back there, and was very important to us winning on the winning yesterday. So, Cripps, Stewart, and Sard for me.
Vince?
Similar, although not the same. Cripps definitely was Carlton's best player on the ground, even though I thought Sheedsel was clearly the best player on the ground. Adam Sard, I gave 2 votes for all the reasons you just mentioned, Reece. I thought that bit of play where he took the game on, bounced it 4 or 5 times, weaved his way from the back line in towards the wing, and then booted it into the forward line. I thought it was just sensational. He also kicked the goal too, which was good to see. And I thought whatever he did was quality. And I thought Charlie Curnow was the most effective forward and the most dangerous forward on the ground. He kicked 4 goals. He didn't do absolutely everything the way you'd like, but I still thought that he had a pretty big impact on the result. So I've gone for the best midfielder of the Carlton team, our best defender for 2, and our best forward for 1.
Okay. Well, there's no doubt Patrick Cripps for mine was best on the ground behind Sheezel. He was easily our best. I thought George Hewitt played a good game. He seems to protect all of our midfielders and does a lot of the hard work. And I was tossing up between Charlie Curnow and Ollie Hollins. So apologies to Ollie. I think he just made 1 or 2 basic errors when he turned the ball over. But other than that, you can't knock his endeavour.
No.
So there's no real change other than Patrick Cripps has taken a bigger lead in our in our competition. So he's going to run away with the chocolates. Sammy Walsh second, Harry McKay, Tom DeConning, and Nick Newman. Interesting to see that neither the second, third, fourth, or fifth places got any votes.
That's right.
So, gentlemen, that brings us to Reese, your Spirit of Carlton Award. And this week, the Spirit of Carlton Award goes to...
I did award this before I found out the information we found out today. It goes to Tom DeConning, who and the reason was he came back on, obviously injured and banged up and bandaged up and everything, and gave his all. He gave his all. This kid doesn't know how to stop. I just thought it was a real courageous effort for him to come back, and that's. I've awarded this one before I even knew that he went off with a punctured lung and also he's got a fractured foot as well. So that just enhances his ability to go out and just give his all for that mighty blue jumper. And that's what we need. That is what we need.
That's what we need. So, gentlemen,
he's definitely committed. That's for sure.
Next Friday night at Festival Hall.
Festival Hall. Well, the Festival Hall's not actually that far away from it. It's in Dudley Street, which is only walking distance to Marvel Stadium.
Carlton, Port Adelaide, 26th of July. So we've got a 5-day turnaround. Marvel Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
David, comments?
Yeah, look, it's going to be a tough game. They're in good form at the moment, and their midfield is lightning quick. They have seriously quick players, and they're really going to, if allowed to, they can make us look silly, to be honest. But hopefully, we make the right sort of changes, and the players come in with the right attitude, and we can, put the heat back on. I think, when we beat Port Adelaide earlier this year, we really did nail their, our tackling and our chasing and our defensive work was superb. So, we just need to play as we did in the third quarter on the weekend, put the heat on our opponent, and hopefully we can get it done early and not late in the game, and we can have a nice, easy win.
Oh, okay. Vince is dying. Vince, comments?
Sorry. Well, I'm not going to give you my prediction because you've got to go first. I
just said comment on the game.
Yeah, look, I think this looms as a real danger game.
Mm-hmm.
I know that we've got a pretty good record against Port Adelaide, especially at Marvel Stadium. And they tend not to travel all that well. But what worries me about Port Adelaide is that they are a very quick side. They're a very speedy team who use their leg speed to transition the ball right from defence all the way to attack if they have to. That's Ken Hinkley's main game plan, is to keep the ball moving at all times. And I'm a little bit worried about our lack of leg speed, especially through the middle. So I think it does loom as a danger game. We've got to get this game played on our terms in order to win it. If we allow them to play their natural game, we could be in serious trouble. So I'm not sure what changes Michael Voss has got in mind for this week, and a lot of them might be forced upon him by all of the injuries and hurt players and sore players. But I wouldn't be hesitating to make changes, quite a few changes, in fact, with the 5-day turnaround. And if anyone's pulled up sore or injured as a result of yesterday's game, I'd be giving them the week off. Doesn't matter who they are. So obviously we're going to have to bring Pitnet in for the conning. There's one change that'll definitely happen. You could argue that Binns, who probably plays more as a winger, could very well come into the team for Akers. And the other one, I think you mentioned one too, Reece, didn't you? A suggested change?
Oh, McGovern should be back this week, I think.
McGovern, you think, might be back, or maybe even Jack Martin could come in
Jack Martin,
and weave his magic in the forward line. I thought it was good to see Jesse Motlop come back after 5 or 6 weeks in the VFL. He at least has had a good body of work in the VFL to justify coming in, and he looked like a player that was ready, a player that had spent quite a bit of time getting himself right, and no surprise to me that he kicked 3 goals, and it was good to see. But a lot's going to depend on selection, but it does loom as a big, big danger game for Carlton, if you ask me.
I must agree 100%. I think I'd like to see the changes. If this game was in Adelaide, I would be picking Port Adelaide without a shadow of a doubt. But because it's at Marvel and the reasons that you gave, I don't think they're in any great form at the moment. But teams tend to build themselves up against Carlton, as David will probably know. When you play against Carlton, people want to go out and thump. But I think we will win and it'll be single figures. Carlton by single figures.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's very, very close.
Yeah.
Very close.
I think. I think I'd be happy with a 7 or 8 point win. So that'll do me.
Vince,
here's your chance, Vince.
I'm going to take it.
I knew you were.
Look. When you look at Port Adelaide's recent
I couldn't do it, to be honest.
I know.
Me either.
I know, especially a side like Port Adelaide.
Yeah.
I think Port Adelaide's last 5 weeks were a 2-point win against St Kilda at Marvel Stadium. So that's probably a good memory for them. Then they smashed the Western Bulldogs, who are in absolutely fantastic form, by 48 points at Adelaide Oval. Then they went on to lose to the Gold Coast Suns on the Gold Coast, which everyone does. Only 14 points, but they nevertheless lost that game. And then they not smashed, but comfortable win over Richmond by 41 points. They're not in bad form. And they've got some real weapons. I think Butters, Horn Francis, and Rosie. I think Rosie might be the biggest injury worry for them. I think he went off with a bit of a hip injury on the weekend.
He's listed as doubtful, Vince.
Yeah. And he was missing. He was missing for them when we played them in Adelaide earlier this year, where we beat them.
He's a massive loss if he doesn't play it.
So I'm not sure whether he'll play or not, but if he does play, there's got to be a bit of an injury cloud on him. If he doesn't, that'll make our life a lot easier. But if he ends up playing and he's fit, I'm very worried about their midfield versus ours at the moment, because ours is sadly out of form other than Patrick Cripps. And I wouldn't mind betting that they try and put someone on Patrick Cripps to try and quieten him down. So,
well, that's how they should.
Anyway, did you tip Carlton by how many?
Well, you should be listening, Vince.
Yeah, how much did you tip us by?
Single figures.
Yeah, but what?
What does it matter?
Yeah, you've got to give us a number.
Oh, 8 points.
8 points, righto, Reese.
Oh well, I've gone 7, so we're around
7.
The same.
Carlton by 7.
Carlton by 7, yeah.
Port Adelaide by 1 point.
Now,
there you go.
You heard that here first.
If that happens and I see you at the footy, Vince, I'm going to neck you.
Yeah, that's it. If that happens, David has permission to belt you from behind and not get reported.
Like Dennis Banks with.
Take that hat off, Vince.
I'll be walking around like this everywhere.
Take it off. You heard it here first. Vince.
The only reason I've done this, and by the way, the only reason I've done this, I want Carlton to win naturally, but the only reason I've done this is because I've got to choose a game to try and catch up to you, Joe. Because and
there's the tipping ladder.
If Reese, if all you do is keep tipping the same as Joe, you're never going to catch him, mate.
But you never know. I might have tipped Port Adelaide. He didn't know that. See, you want me to go first?
Look, don't get me wrong, everyone. I want Carlton to win as much as any of you do, but I've got to try and pick a game. And I thought it'd be Collingwood. Honestly, I looked at this and I thought maybe the Collingwood game is the one. And I thought, no, I can't possibly go for Collingwood against Carlton. That's just not. It's not gonna happen. So is it Hawthorn? Is it?
Yes.
Is it West Coast? No. Is it St Kilda the last game? No. So I've
Vince,
gone for this one. I reckon we're looking shaky after that game against North Melbourne.
can I tell you? Hawthorn will outrun us. They are quick. They are much
DC,
quicker.
sorry, DC. I know I've tipped them by a point, but you know, sometimes you've got to learn your lesson the hard way.
I'm disgusted. Anyway, hey, David, that brings us to the end of your little stint on the show. So once again, on behalf of our viewers and Vince and myself, thank you very much for making yourself available. And we will see you next Sunday night.
No worries, guys. And yeah, go the Mighty Blues, and let's hope we have a good win Friday night.
Don't say that to Vince. He's going the power.
No, I'm not barracking for the power.
Can you get a picture of him with a Port Power scarf after the game or something?
Don't worry. I'll muster one up, Vince. Don't worry. All right, David.
Thanks, guys. Play the Blues.
There is. I might have to do this, Joe.
You splitter.
Oh well. There you go.
Splitter. Anyway, Vince.
Yes, mate.
Apparently there was a few other games of football.
There were. You want to go through
Let's
them?
go.
Okay, well, on Friday night, as you saw, I attended this game with my darling Tanya, who left the ground heartbroken. Adelaide Crows did to Essendon what they did to us earlier this year. Came from behind and snatched a win. Literally stole it by 2 points, just like they did to us. They beat us by 2 points in this fashion, and they did it again. Ben Keys was amazing. 17 goals, 13, 115. To Essendon, 17, 11, 113. And now Essendon is hanging on to their spot in the 8 by their fingernails with 5 matches to go. Will they hold on? I doubt it.
Great.
Anyway, the next game was on Saturday over at Giant Stadium, or what do they call it now? NG Stadium.
NG or something, yeah.
In Western Sydney. And the Giants kicked 14 goals, 589 to defeat an inaccurate Gold Coast Suns who had quite a lot of the ball. 6 goals, 14-50. You look at that, 14-5 to 6-14. Now, if the Suns keep 14-6 instead of 6-14, they win by a point.
Win by a point.
Exactly.
Next.
St Kilda had a big win against the very spiritless West Coast Eagles. They look like they've just put the cue in the rack, and they're just
they what?
You know, they are playing terrible football again. Since sacking Adam Simpson, I don't think the caretaker coach is doing himself many favours in getting the full-time position. St Kilda 17-11, 113 for a side that's known for being defensive. To the West Coast Eagles, 6 goals, 541. Big win to the Saints. Then, of course, one of the best results of the weekend, seeing Collingwood get smashed by Hawthorn. 20 goals, 13, the Hawks, 133. Jack Ginnivan absolutely tearing his old side apart.
Magnificent to see.
To Collingwood, 9 goals, 13, 67. And in a lot of people's opinion, it's season over, Magpies. Then a big result there at Cardinia Park, or GMHBA Stadium as they know it now. The Western Bulldogs, they've hardly ever won there in the last 20-odd years, but, gee, didn't they turn it around this time? 13-17. They could have even made it a bigger victory if it wasn't for the inaccurate kicking. 95 to Geelong, a very listless 7-6-48. And there's got to be big concerns there at Geelong about, the way some of their players are going. But anyway, they are still well and truly in the 8 as we speak. Port Adelaide, as I said earlier, a comfortable victory. They eventually pulled away from a pretty plucky Richmond. 16 goals, 20, 116 to Richmond, 11-9, 75, and they maintain their spot at the bottom of the table, the Tigers. Then what was a thriller on Sunday at the Gabba, a seesawing match, a great finals type game. If you ask me, Brisbane Lions 11-13-79, keeping their unbeaten run going, 7 consecutive wins now to entrench themselves in the top 4 against the top team, Sydney Swans 11-11-77, and quite big injury concerns there with Tom Papley and Dane Rampy also incurring injury. So there's a few injury concerns there at the SCG. And I think the Sydney Swans are not quite as invincible as some people might have thought.
And the last
game,
of
course, the other game we had, apart from ours on Sunday, was Fremantle dismantling Melbourne, who are suffering badly because of the loss of Max Gawn and Christian Petrarca. But it really came to the fore on Sunday without a ruckman. Fremantle took them apart in the ruck, 17-14, 116. To Melbourne's 10-6-66, and Melbourne, have slipped out of the 8 again. So they were in there for a week, and now they're back out again. And it's very questionable with a pretty tough fixture home that they can make it into the 8.
Let's go through the ladder.
Here we have the ladder. Sydney Swans still on top, 2 games clear. They're on 14 wins and quite a healthy percentage. 2 games and a lot of percentage clear of Carlton in second position, outright second clearly. So even though we only just got over the line against North Melbourne, we're still in a pretty good position on the ladder. 12 wins, but only half a game clear of Brisbane and Fremantle on 46 points each, separated by just a little bit of percentage. Then the second half of the top 8 sees GWS and Geelong, as well as Port Adelaide, all on 44 points. That's 11 wins from their 18 games, separated on percentage. And the last team in the 8 is Essendon on 42, an outright 8th position with a pretty poor percentage of under 100. Then just outside the 8 on their heels are the Western Bulldogs, Melbourne and Hawthorn, all on 10 wins, 40 points, separated on percentage. Then you've got another half a game clear of Gold Coast, who are on 38, aren't they?
No, 36.
Right? Oh, sorry.
No,
9.
36.
I'm sorry. I'm hardly being able to see. Hang on. Tell you what I'll do. Now I can see it better. Gold Coast are on 36, I beg your pardon, and Collingwood also on 36. Look, it's very questionable as to whether these teams who are on 9 wins, effectively 9 wins, Collingwood, 8 wins and two draws.
I think Collingwood's percentage is too bad.
But not only that, it's also, they're going to need to get 13 wins to make it, probably. So, really, they've got to win 4 out of their last 5 matches, each of those 2 teams. So, I just can't see them doing it. Mm-hmm. Gold Coast just don't win away from home. So, it's hard to see them making it. They've only got 2 more home games in the last 5. And they're going to need to win 4 out of 5 to make the 8. And same with Collingwood, who are just banged up and injured and out of form. And unless you're a Collingwood supporter, who cares? Adelaide are in 14th on 30 points. They've struck a bit of form recently. St Kilda also have put together a few wins recently. So they're both on 7 wins. Adelaide on 7.5. St Kilda on 7 wins. Then the last 3 teams are all struggling, hardly ever win very often. West Coast on 3 wins. North Melbourne probably the best of these 3 because they do play some good football at times, like they did against us yesterday. They've only got the 2 wins, and Richmond on the bottom.
Very interesting. As someone said, positions 2 to 8. Very, very, very interesting. Yeah. Hey, Vince.
I think it's coming now. I think we can safely say now, before this weekend that just passed, 13 teams still had a chance. Now I think we're talking about 11. I don't think we're going to go beyond the 11th position now.
No, me either. Vince, it's now time for Big Vincenzo's verdict. And this week, you've got 2, haven't you?
Well, I've got a couple of things to say.
Okay.
Just very briefly, I'll do the second one, the less important one first. It's just in relation to tackling. I think now it's clear that everyone's confused. Players, coaches, fans. There's no consistency from umpires when it comes to holding the ball anymore. There were times there yesterday where I just didn't know which way it was going to go. Sometimes they'd pay holding the ball. You'd see the same thing again in the second quarter, and all of a sudden it's not holding the ball anymore. One thing I want to say is with this change of interpretation halfway through the season that the AFL has seen fit to implement in relation to holding the ball, they're now saying if a player is tackled by one arm but he's got the ball in his hand with the other one,
he's got to get rid of it.
It's incumbent on him to either hand pass it. Now, I don't know how you're supposed to hand pass. If you got the ball in one hand and your other hand's being held by the other player, how are you supposed to hand pass it? You can't.
I don't know.
Unless you break free of that tackle and then hand pass it.
But then you get caught holding the ball.
You've somehow got to kick the ball, and often they're not in a position to be able to kick. They're on the ground or their legs are underneath them or whatever it might be. They can't actually kick it. So it seems to be a case of, oh, well, bad luck. You got tackled by the one arm and you didn't dispose of it by hand or foot, so it's holding the ball. To me, the amount of times I saw yesterday, the ball player, the player going in for the ball, be penalised because within a split second of him getting the ball, he's tackled, besieged upon, and all of a sudden he's lost it holding the ball. I just think that's sending all the wrong messages to players who want to go in and actually get the hard ball. And that, to me, is a problem. The other thing I want to say about it is this. If they're going to encourage players to tackle by pinning one arm but leaving the other one free, and one of the main reasons they're encouraging players to do that, by the way, is because if they actually pin them both arms and those players go to ground and hit their heads on the turf, guess what? You're going to get suspended. So what they're encouraging players to do now is to tackle by pinning one arm. And this is going to create a lot of what they call chicken wing tackles. And I reckon you're going to see that many players getting shoulder injuries, elbow injuries, arm injuries. It's just going to be a mess. I think they've made enough of a mess already this year, the AFL, without making it even worse. But I think you're going to find even more players getting hurt as a result of these changes of interpretation. Anyway, that's the first thing I wanted to say. The second thing I wanted to say was, didn't we witness on Friday the impact on the entire world when something goes wrong with the internet and technology? Didn't we? Do you know that we spent nearly 3/4 of an hour outside of the ground on Friday night? We were meant to get in at 5:30. They didn't let anyone in until nearly 6:15. And that was all because, guess what, Joe? Why did they keep the fans out of the ground?
No internet.
No, but what? No. The Microsoft outage caused by that crowd strike. How appropriate. The crowd should have gone on strike and said, we're not going in. But do you know one of the main reasons, in my opinion, as to why they didn't let everyone in?
Why is that, Vince?
Because they couldn't charge money for anything. None of the food outlets, anywhere where you had to pay for something. These grounds do not accept cash.
Oh, don't
Marvel Stadium, MCG are cashless venues. Shame on them. Shame on them. Right? And this is what happens to any society that's trying to do away with cash. Let this be a warning to everyone and an insight into what society is going to be like if everything is revolving around the internet and technology, and you can't even pay for things with cold hard cash. Because I'm telling you, that's how easily they can just switch off the world if they want to. I wouldn't mind betting. I mean, a lot of conspiracy theorists would even say that this was a deliberate stunt to see what impact it would have on the world to turn off Microsoft. It's a disgrace. And the venues like the MCG and Marvel Stadium ought to be fined for not accepting what is, by law, legal tender. If you go along and you offer someone a $10 note to pay for your, pie, which is almost that much these days, or your hot dog, that money should be accepted. And for these venues to get away with not accepting legal tender is a disgrace on them, and it's a disgrace on the AFL. And you know what? It would have made me really happy to see the whole damn thing not come on at all, so that they couldn't let anyone in. And then why? Because they wouldn't have been able to charge for anything.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
What about if I want to place a bet? Can I use cash?
Oh, you can go into a TAB and give them cash. Yeah, of course. But by the way, Joe, if you put money into your TAB account, let's just say you go along to a TAB and you give them a $50 note, and you say, I want to put that into my account. They'll accept it, and they'll put it into your account. If you then say, oh, geez, hang on, I forgot I've got to do some shopping. Oh, I need that $50 back. I haven't placed my bet yet. I'll need my $50 back. They won't give it back to you.
Really?
Yep.
No.
Because you haven't used it to bet with. Or you can't transfer it. Or even if you go onto your betting app and you try and transfer it back into your account, that $50 will not be able to be transferred back.
Here, cash. No cash, Robbo. No cash.
No cash here.
Yeah.
But anyway, no I just wanted to make a point that it's incredible the effect that outage, just that one outage, had on the whole world, let alone just what happened at Marvel Stadium on Friday night. Unbelievable.
Vince, talking of no cash,
beware of the new digital ID that they're trying to implement with this Labor federal government. It's going to be another, case of trust us. We're the government. You can trust us with your information. Yeah, just like Optus would have told you that you can trust them with your information, and then look what happened there. Cyber attacks all over the place. Anyway,
no cash, Vince.
No cash for us either.
No cash.
Actually, we lost our bet. We lost our bet on Friday night going for Essendon against Adelaide, but we also lost even on the Geelong Western Bulldogs one. We lost. We got the other 4, but 4 out of 6 is not good enough on a multi. So we lost our $10. We're back to 50 now.
So here's your bet of the week.
We're going for a few odds here. We've gone for an upset too, which might be a bit controversial for some of us. I've actually put in Carlton to beat Port Adelaide. Okay, so there you go, viewers. I'm actually putting my money where my mouth is, and I'm backing Carlton to beat Port Adelaide in this bet at $1.46. North Melbourne. Now you didn't put Geelong in Capitals.
Yeah, Geelong. I just said that. I just said Geelong to beat North.
So Geelong to beat North, as you'd imagine, at $1.27. That's being played in Tasmania, that game, I think, down in Hobart.
Yeah. Here's the one.
This is the one I've gone for the outsider. I'm going for Gold Coast to beat Brisbane Lions, who are in hot form and won 7 in a row. But, gee, Gold Coast are hard to beat at home. And I just thought, you know what? Wouldn't mind betting that they turn it on for this one. And Brisbane haven't lost for a while, so that's my thinking there. Going for Gold Coast to knock over the Brisbane Lions at their home ground there at Carrara. Also, another one that I'm a bit nervous about here is to go for Essendon against St Kilda. I'm doing it purely on the basis that Essendon now have lost their last 2. St Kilda are down the bottom half of the ladder. I think they're very evenly matched, these two sides, but I'm going for Essendon purely because they absolutely have to win. Season on the line. Fremantle to beat West Coast, that shouldn't surprise too many. I think Fremantle are in fantastic form. West Coast don't look like they're playing for anything at the moment. And Collingwood, I'm actually nervous about this, Joe. I'm actually really nervous about the last leg. I'm going for Collingwood at $1.25 to beat Richmond, but Lana agrees that maybe Richmond could get over them. They're not playing too badly, the Tigers, but look, if Collingwood can't get up for this one, their premiership defence is in absolute tatters. I'm going for them, but not with a lot of confidence. So there's
this comment, Vince.
None of these might what?
None of these might get up.
Might come in.
None of you might get them all wrong.
You might be right. I mean, even North Melbourne beating Geelong's not beyond the realms of possibility, is it?
No.
Mind you, I don't think West Coast will beat Fremantle. I mean,
no.
So that's Vince, the one I'm most confident about.
As you said correctly, our funds are dwindling. Five rounds.
You know what's cost us, don't you? That one week where I went for Carlton to beat the Western Bulldogs last week was 60. I put $60 on that, and we lost it because Carlton didn't beat them. I mean, I thought surely Patrick Cripps' 200th game would get us over the line, but no, I was wrong. So anyway,
I agree with Wayne. Get people, get out.
If this week's bet comes off, we'll be back into the black in a serious way because I think we'll get back at $111 or something.
Okay, Vince, that brings us to the end of our show. But before we do, let's have a look at what's coming up on the Jumper Punch YouTube channel this week.
Okay.
Tomorrow night, we've got the boys, Rocco, Mars and Paolo.
Yep.
Can they set another record and go longer than 4 and a bit hours? I'm saying yes.
Can they go to 4.5?
Get some extra batteries for those microphones. And Rocco tells me that Double will be on Wednesday at 7. They're not sure about rocking the Burbs. Followed by Forever Rivals. At least Rocco will be happy. Thursday, the change room. Please note the change in time. It's gone from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. And then, of course, the Jewel in the Crown, Blue Sunday at 7:30 next Sunday. Also, don't forget, like, share, subscribe. At Blue Sunday and at The Jumper Punch on Facebook and at The Jumper Punch on YouTube. So, Vince, that brings us to the end. Do you have any final comments?
Yeah, just a quick cheerio.
Another cheerio. Here we go.
Another cheerio. No. This is to a very important Carlton person, in fact, who celebrated his 74th birthday yesterday. And he's not in the best of health, unfortunately. But I just wanted to send him a big shout out. And I'm sure all of our viewers would join me in doing this and wishing Robert Walls, our former great player, captain, and premiership coach of 1987. All the best wishes for his 74th birthday, and also let's hope he recovers from his health issues at the moment because he's not necessarily in a great way. So all the best to Robert Walls. Let's hope that he can keep soldiering on.
Let's go. So Vince, it's a good night from me.
And it's a good night from me over here in Melbourne, Australia. And no doubt you're enjoying some fantastic weather there in Thailand.
It's just about to rain, but it's very hot.
Okay.
Yeah, well, it's our wet season, but it's like 35 degrees, 80% humidity. So I'm going to go for a swim.
Don't make me jealous. It's cold, wet, and miserable here in Melbourne.
No. Well, it's cold, it's wet and hot. But anyway, our Vince, we always finish with a Go Blues.
We are the Navy Blues. We are the old dark Navy Blues. We're the team that never lets you down. We're the only team old Carlton knows. With all the champions they like to send up, we'll keep our end up, and they will know that they've been playing against the famous old dark Blues.